Okay, and we back. Let me get my co-host on here. All right, there we go. There we go. All right, so I just sent the invitation.
Okay.
Right, girl, I had started having some difficulties. Girl, last minute, everything just fell, and I'm like, oh my god, everything fell.
Girl, I see her online, but
Yeah, let me try to add her again. Okay.
Okay. Am I
Hello.
on? Can
hi.
y'all hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Of
Thanks for
course.
coming. All right, y'all. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Episode 5 of Is They Speak Your Truth. I am Kai, the hood therapist. I am a spiritual advisor. And we are back with another discussion. So, on the last episode, we talked about forgiveness. We learned that forgiving doesn't mean you have to keep those people around, but it means that you just forgiven that action. But you have set healthy boundaries. So, that don't mean that you have to keep those people in your life. I've forgiven you. I've moved on from what you did to me, but I do not have to accept you back into my life. So, that was our last episode. So, now that leads us into our very first education hour, where we will be discussing mental health in the Black community. Now, I do have a disclaimer. We are in no way insinuating that other cultures and communities do not have these same issues. But what we are doing, we are bringing education and awareness to our community because we want to help our community learn and grow.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to put that out there. So if you don't know how to swim, get your life
The
jacket
jacket
because it's
is
about to
about to
get
get
deep.
deep.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and turn it over to my friend and co-host, Dr. Chris, and she will introduce our special guest for today.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to yet another episode. Thank you, Kai, for that introduction. As you all know, my name is Dr. Chris, and this is It's Say Speak Your Truth. So on today's live, we have Ty Lofton. She is the CEO and co-founder of Making an Impact 365 Incorporated, which is a federally recognized 501c3 nonprofit organization whose mission is to be a resource within our community by providing programs and services that will educate, empower, and equip individuals to improve their quality of life and promote self-efficacy. She is a licensed clinical social worker, or LCSW, with over 10 years of serving as a counselor, as a therapist, as well as providing mental health, social, and community support services. Thank you for joining us, Ty.
Thank you for having me, guys. Super excited.
So glad to have you. So let's dive right on in because we know this episode is about mental health. So, the first question I have for you, can you provide us a broad overview of what mental health is, how it impacts us as individuals, and any stigma surrounding mental health struggles?
So, I want to bring some, I guess, clarity to the actual term mental health. So, there is a difference between mental health and mental illness. And sometimes we use that word or those phrases interchangeably, but there is a real distinct difference. So, your mental health has to do with your mental wellness or well being, such as your physical health has to do with your physical well being. And so, when we say the word or the term mental health, then we're thinking or talking about our actual mental well-being, how we're doing mentally. So that's something I like to clarify because sometimes we use those terms interchangeably. Now, when we talk about mental illness, we're talking about the actual conditions or diseases that impact the person mentally, cognitively, behaviorally. So I wanted to just put that out there. So when we talk about these terms, people are aware. It's hard to be able to know what you're dealing with when you don't have the full truth of facts about what we're dealing with. So give me that second question again now. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. So how does our mental health, whether we're struggling with it or if it's proper or healthy or whatever, how does this impact us as individuals, and then any stigma surrounding mental health struggles?
So just like a physical health condition can impact a person's body, with mental health individually, a person's mental wellness is very important. To me, it's equally as important as any medical physical conditions. So if mentally, our mental health is not in a good space, or we're not doing well with our mental health, then that individually, that can impact the way we're functioning throughout the day. It can impact our relationships. It can impact our ability to perform on jobs. If you're in school, it can impact your actual ability to complete assignments, to be focused, to study. So when you're talking about if your mental health is in a good place, it can affect every aspect of your life negatively. It really can. So stigma. I'm so glad you brought up stigma. For one, we're in May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month nationally. So that's been a thing that, to me, it's always existed, just like with certain medical conditions, honestly, right? So we know with HIV and AIDS, there's a stigma that's attached to that. So same as with mental health, mental wellness. So when a person's not well mentally, then there's a lot of, and we're talking about in the Black community, there's a lot of misconceptions that plays into the stigma continuation. And so we have this belief system because it just goes back so many hundreds of years. Honestly, if we're going to be honest and truthful, we didn't have the ability to, we didn't have access to services. Let's just put that out there. Okay, so we didn't have access to services. And so we had to create a ability to be resilient in certain conditions. So as a result of our need to still survive and keep going despite whatever mental illness or mental health issues we're facing, we had to still go forward. We had to still function. Men and women still had to go out and pick cotton and be slaves and do various. We didn't have those opportunities and options to get supports and help. So let's fast forward to today. Unfortunately, generational trauma is real. And generational habits are real. We like to call them generational curses, but in most cases, in many cases, it's generational trauma. And it could be considered a curse because we continue to perpetuate certain things throughout generation after generation. So fast forward from slavery to now you have it where we're still functioning in the bloodline of the way our ancestors has functioned. Were there some benefits in that? Yes. However, we're in a time today where we have access to resources. We have the ability to get certain things we need that our ancestors didn't have access to. So we carry certain mindset down, through generation to generation. Oh, if she's with a man that's beating her, she needs to leave. And if she don't leave, girl, she's stupid. Something wrong with her. Or in the case of somebody who deals with depression, she weak. What you mean she can't get out the bed? She don't have a choice. She have kids. She have responsibilities. That's not an option. Get over it. Because if we think about these things I'm telling you, if we go back those hundreds and hundreds of years, did we have an option to say, oh, master, we're not going to pick that cotton today because I'm depressed? No.
Right.
They had to get up regardless. So we've carried a lot of that mindset and thoughts behind these things. And another part is because we don't see it, and I think this is a human condition, because we don't see things sometimes like a medical or physical condition. A broken leg, we know a broken leg is a broken leg. We can see the broken bone. But when we don't see something, we have a hard time understanding it. You can't see anxiety. You can't see PTSD. You can't see depression. You can't see schizophrenia. You can't see the actual disease. So people have a hard time comprehending and understanding. They have a hard time having empathy and compassion. So that's where the stigma, in my opinion, in Black communities more specifically, it continues to perpetuate.
Thank you for that, Ty. We're
Thank
going to get
you.
deeper into that for sure, but I'm going to let Kai go ahead.
Yeah, no, that was, thank you. Thank you for that. Like, that was a very, very, very good, like, introduction. I love it. I learned something myself, so thank you for
Mm-hmm.
that. So, just like you were speaking about depression, depression is, strongly correlated to living in the past. So instead of us enjoying the current moment, we will sit back and we'll fall into that depressive state and we start to think about, like you said, traumas, childhood traumas, poor decisions, missed opportunities, abusive relationships, and we think about the should have, could have, and the would haves. And as I mentioned before, I am a spiritual guide. Girl, why I can't get my words all right. I am a spiritual advisor. So I notice, like, when I'm doing spiritual consultations, that it low key turns into a therapy session.
Mm.
So do you feel that mental health and spiritual healing go hand in hand?
Oh, for sure. I definitely believe it goes hand in hand, because we are, a three-part being. Like, you can't think you're going to address one part and the other parts of, like I said, mental wellness, mental health impacts every aspect of your life. And so it can negatively impact your spiritual life. Or if you get the proper supports, it can actually be a benefit. Your spiritual walk can be a benefit in your recovery from a mental illness. So I do believe, I always tell people, yes, you can have church and you can have a therapist too. Yes, you can have Jesus and a therapist too. Yes, you can have whatever your spirituality is, you can have them both. You should not have to choose. You're not just floating around like Casper. You are human. You are here
Right.
amongst human beings in the earth. So there's a need to be able to function here physically, just like your spiritual parts of you needs to be able to be fed spiritually so that can continue to thrive. So I definitely am an adamant, as you can tell, passionate believer that you should and could have both.
Definitely. Thank you.
Definitely. Okay, so the next I have one question, I have a follow-up question, and I'll repeat both if you need me to. So as a clinical social worker, therapist, mental health professional in general, what have been your experiences with those that are suffering from mental health disorders and struggles? So for example, those that you frequently see in your clientele. And can you tell us about that? Basically an overview broadly of what the main determinants or signs of these top 2 to 3 disorders are?
So the top ones I normally see is depression, anxiety, and it goes between adjustment disorder and possibly the PTSD. So depression, we know depression actually can be a chronic condition where you have a chemical imbalance that really causes that mood to shift. And that's not something that is influenced by things such as thinking about the past, or I lost my job, or, my relationship is suffering. When it's chronic, it's an actual chemical imbalance. So that person can have a shift that takes place over time. So I like to put that out there because people seem to think a shift in mood is bipolar. Everything is bipolar. And it's like, no, it's not. That's not how that goes.
Right.
So with depression, you have a shift in that mood that can be anywhere from days to weeks. And when that shift takes place from a chronic condition, there's likely no actual trigger associated with that. So then that person may be suffering for days to weeks, and in some cases where it's pretty, like, really severe, it can go on for months. So that's one thing. Oftentimes it's associated, again, it's something passed down in the DNA. The other type of depression is the kind of what Kai talked about a minute ago, which is actually like you're having triggers and outside, like external issues going on in your life that in turn causes you to now become sad or depressed because it's overwhelming. It's just overwhelming and it's impacting your mood. And so that's the other type of depression. That is typically acute. When that situation begins to resolve itself, then you start to feel better. But with a person who's chronic, it's really nothing they can do to make them feel better. They have to wait on that chemical imbalance to kind of fluctuate, like go through their system, and then they're going to shift back into a more stable mood, which is why some of those people take medications in an effort to help balance that out. Okay, another condition is anxiety. So anxiety, in that anxiety family, you have obsessive compulsive disorder. You definitely could have the PTSD can be a part of that, but anxiety has to do with being on extreme high alert this is when it's unhealthy. So let me say that. A lot of these conditions have a purpose. When we talk about spirituality and all that, when God created these emotions and feelings, they all had a purpose. So example, the depression, something bad happened, you and your boyfriend going through something, you and your husband, you're not happy, you're depressed. And that's a sign that your body, your situation is affecting your body. And that's how you know, okay, I'm not in a good space right now. It's meant to inform you. So with anxiety, you might walk into a certain atmosphere and environment and you're feeling edgy because something seems off, whether it's the way people are moving, whether it's it could be a variety of things. Anxiety is meant to alert you that a space you're in is either not comfortable or it doesn't feel safe. Safe can mean safe emotionally, spiritually, physically. It could be a variety of safe isn't just, oh, my life is in danger. Safe is just safe. So that's what anxiety does. It helps to alert you. However, most of us who suffers from anxiety, they function in a high alert all the time. That's when it's a problem. You're not meant to be anxious all the time. And that's when you can't turn off those thoughts. And you're thinking two major things that anxiety has an impact on is either you're looking ahead all the time, you're thinking about your future all the time, or you're looking back all the time and you're worrying about the past. That's the two major areas I see anxiety just kind of gets a grip on somebody and they don't know how to let it go. They either constantly worry about, oh, I gotta keep going because I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta do this. Oh, what about that? What if I stop doing that, then this might happen? Or they looking back like, oh my God, I can't believe he abused me. She did this. I was dead. I went through this. So they're either looking back or they're looking forward. Either way, guess what they're not doing? They're not present. They're not here, right now. And that's why they're always anxious. So that's the second one. The other one can go between PTSD or adjustment disorder. Adjustment disorder is just a temporary situation you're going through. You're having a hard time adjusting, and you need supports to get through that tough time. And that's usually a short-term thing, anywhere from 6 months to a year. When it's going past that time frame, you're really going into either PTSD or anxiety. The other one, of course, PTSD was post-traumatic stress disorder, which has to do with when you've been negatively impacted in a traumatic situation, which, when it first was defined, they only limited to firsthand experiences. Now they have situations where you can witness it, not even be the victim, and be traumatized. I could take it a step further. You can now have it in a vicarious way that a person like myself or people such as EMTs and other people who work with people who experience a lot of trauma can experience what they call now vicarious trauma. So if you work with people who have a lot of trauma, although you never witnessed their trauma, you never experienced that type of trauma, it can traumatize you.
Wow.
So that's a lot of what I see between the depression, anxiety, or the adjustment disorder or the PTSD. So, and with that PTSD, that is a long-term thing that ends up happening. And let me say this, all of those conditions can be resolved, meaning with the exception of depression. The depression that's chronic, that's a chemical imbalance, is no fixing it. And a lot of us as Black women, more specifically, our Black women, I want to speak to you guys. We are in so much denial about that. We think because it's a condition that we cannot fix, that we're broken, and we're not. It's no different than if you had an iron deficiency. Can you fix that? No. You don't think you're broken because you have low iron. You don't think you're broken because, like we have various other, because you have asthma. You don't think you're a broken person because you have asthma. But if you have chronic depression, we think we're broken. And we think we need to fixed. No, it just needs to be managed like any other condition.
Wow, that was I had never heard of the vicarious trauma. So that's definitely something that, and I'm so glad we're doing this education hour, because just like we have our supporters and our viewers watching and learning, we're also learning as well.
Yeah.
And as a follow-up question, is it possible that you can have these mental health illnesses or disorders or what have you simultaneously? So is it possible to have PTSD and depression, or depression and anxiety? And if so, how do you navigate those spaces?
So typically with PTSD, that disorder can encompass depression, anxiety. It can encompass a number of conditions. So I wouldn't give a person a depression diagnosis and PTSD. Why? If you look at the criteria for PTSD, or if you look at the symptoms, depression is in that. So I wouldn't give both for that. Now, in certain conditions, they overlap, so it wouldn't make sense to give multiple, right? But in the case of anxiety and depression, that is something that I've diagnosed a lot for my years of doing this. They both can be happening simultaneously. A person can definitely have heightened, uncontrolled anxiety and be utterly depressed. Now, what that looks like on each person can vary. We have classic normal symptoms we look for in criteria, but there are symptoms for people that look a little bit different. For example, some people, when they're depressed, they're angry, they're irritable, and they're frustrated. We typically think of depression as sad, isolating, loss of interest in normal things we like to do. But some people, it looks like they'll still go out and party, but they don't want you in their space. Why you keep calling me? They have an outburst. That's depression. And it may not look like that to some people, but it is. It can be a very classic sign of depression. So yes, you can have some of these conditions simultaneously. And the way to address them, it depends on how severe they are, like how severe are your symptoms. So with anxiety, some people, I can help them address that depression because it's not chronic, and they can get relief almost immediately. But see, that anxiety, they can't stop thinking about the past, or they can't stop thinking about the future. So they may need something to take the edge off, which is kind of where medications come into play. And so it just depends on how much work they want to do and how hard do they want to work. Because I'm going to be honest, y'all, it's like recovering. I always tell people the journey to healing is about recovering. If you break something in your body, you have to go through recovery.
Yeah.
You can't think you break something and boom, you're going to wake up and the bones are healed. You're not going to go through surgery. And I'm talking about what they call outpatient, where you're going home the same day. You still got to go through recovery. And you think you done been through hell and trauma in your life and you don't have to recover? You just going, I'm going to heal myself. Yeah, but you got to do work. To get anything healed, it requires a process. And so that's the part. How committed are you to your healing journey? How committed are you to being well again? How committed are you to being whole again?
Oh, that was good.
Yeah. Oh, well, so good. Okay, I'm learning so much. I am learning so much. Okay, so now we did some research. And according to the American Psychological Association, the statistic shows that only 26.4% of Black men between 18 and 44 seek mental health treatment, while white American men between 18 and 44 make up 45.4%. We did some more research from the same source, and it shows that Black teenage girls between 14 and 18 outrank both white and Hispanic teens in suicide attempts. In the previous 12 months, in the previous 12 months, in the previous 12 months, the statistic shows that Black girls are leading with 15.2 of reported suicide attempts, followed by Hispanic teen girls at 11.9% and white teenage girls coming in at 9.4%. And when I read those statistics, like it was like so heartbreaking, because it's basically showing that our men and these teenagers don't really have like an outlet. They don't have a safe space. So when a man expresses his feelings or his emotions, he's looked at as a simp, or they call him,
Mm-hmm.
or you just a bitch ass nigga, or he's
Mm-hmm.
weak, or he's soft. If a teenager, express their feelings, because I feel like they're oppressed in their own homes, is, oh, you a child. I don't have to listen to you. I'm the parent. What I say goes. You don't have no feelings. You do what
Mm-hmm.
I tell you to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then if you go a little deeper and you have teen girls that are being sexually
Mm-hmm.
abused, especially by somebody that's known by the family, it looks like the family wants to protect the abuser more than they want to protect the person that's being abused. So
Mm-hmm.
then it's like, who can I talk to? They start to shut down, and then, they start to act out in different ways. So how, as a mental health professional, how would you make those people feel safe with being vulnerable and just like opening up and just knowing that, hey, you can trust me?
Yeah. So the two different populations, when we go from men, and more specifically Black men, that's the least amount of clients I've had throughout my years. I've been in private practice 5 years, and I've been, like she said, doing this 10 years. And of all I probably can, I don't think I've had 20 men
Wow.
in all that time.
Wow.
I know that too, and I like to educate because, again, we make a lot of assumptions, right? That's another generational traumatic piece for men, Black men specifically. When we go back to the Tuskegee experiment, those men sought out medical help, and instead they were used as an experiment as guinea pigs. And that wasn't that long ago, despite what we like to think, and we feel like we should be over certain things. If we're going to keep it 100, that wasn't that long ago. So guess what Black men are doing? Still saying they happy jack behinds at their home, and they figure, oh, I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna get it together at some point. I'm a work harder. I'm a, start doing this or doing that. I'm gonna be committed to my family and do this. And they think those things are going to deliver them or heal them. And I'm not saying that those things don't give some level of satisfaction or it doesn't add some value. What I'm saying is that's not healing the brokenness. So what I do with men, and more specifically Black men, I follow their lead. I'm not there to tell anybody, and especially our Black men, because they are not given the respect they are due in society, in this nation for sure. Let's just say that, okay? And then when you talk about the feminist movement and how, if we go to with the Black women, we've been on a roll. It's no, I don't know no other population competing with us on those levels, if we gonna be honest. And I'm talking about facts. I'm not talking about nothing about like fastest growing group of people starting businesses and education, and it's us. So Black men are like, how do I compete with that, right? So when you come in my office as the Black man seeking therapy, the first thing I'm doing is normalizing the fact that, you, I'm here for you. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm not here to judge you. That is a talk that I have with every client, but I do my best to overly emphasize to Black men that this is a safe space and that I will take it at their pace. I'm not the captain. I'm the co-captain. I'm here to support you, back you. You the one driving this boat. So that's one way that I do it, and I take things at their pace. So for example, if I bring up topics, I see that something needs to be processed, I bring that up and they're not ready, guess what I do? I back off. Because why would I put them in a position to potentially re-traumatize them or set them back by forcing a topic they're not ready to process? So that's the key, is really following that person's lead. especially with adults, especially with Black men, they need to be constantly reassured. They need to be constantly like acknowledged and empowered because nobody else is doing that for them. They barely can go home and get it if they're married, let alone they don't want to come in no therapy office because and that's the other part is me relinquishing my, my master's degree and my years of this because I know. No, I need to learn from you. Tell me what you've been going through. I need to know your life. I reposition that because if they coming in, some of them, their guards are up, like with this, I never forget. Black man came in, he was in law enforcement. I ain't gonna get specific with which branch of law enforcement. And you could tell his anxiety was through the roof, legs shaking. He's like, I don't know what to expect, but I'm here. My friend keep telling me I need to come, so I'm here. So I was like, okay. Look, thank you for coming. I appreciate you. This your space. This your space. That's your sofa. Oh, go ahead with all that. Go ahead. No. I'm sitting. This your sofa. This your space. And then he really did get mad because I replaced the sofa and got chairs. So when he came back and the sofa was gone, he really felt so good that I got rid of the sofa. But what I did was normalize that it's okay to feel like that. I would feel nervous too walking into a space I don't know if it's safe.
Right.
But see, by the end of that session, he said, I'm coming back. I'm coming back. And he did. He did several times. So with Black men, we have to be patient with them. We have to empower them. We have to have empathy for them. We could never know. Just like Black men could never know what a Black woman go through, Black women or anybody could never know what Black men go through. We couldn't. I'm going to be honest. As hard as it is for us out here, Black women, I don't ever want to walk a day in the life of a shoe of a Black man. I'm sorry, I don't. I love them to death, but I don't want to walk that walk. So that's why I take my time with them. I always reassure them. With the teens, now let me say this. If you ain't never been sniffed out by a teen, what I mean by that, they are some of the most purest spirits you ever want to meet. They gonna read that when they walk in. If you're not genuine, they're not sticking around. That's part of the issue with our teens, is that people are not being genuine. They have these underlying motives, and most times these underlying motives is to manipulate and control. These teens ain't having it. Do you hear what I'm telling you? That's one of my biggest populations working with adolescent and youth. They not having it. So when a teen walks in my office and their parent is sitting there, the first thing I do is out that parent. So let me tell you right now, I ain't telling you what she don't give me permission to tell you. So if you don't want to work with me, you need to take her somewhere else. If she don't give me permission, if he don't give me permission to tell you, the only thing I can tell you is if safety is involved, ordered to say something by the courts. Outside of those two areas, safety and ordered, I ain't telling you nothing. So if you're looking for a therapist who's going to shoo and read on everything we talking about in the session, you're going to have to take them somewhere else. That's what I do in front of the team. In front of the team right there, because I've had parents, they say they ain't like that, and guess what? They did that one session, what they did, take that little baby back, and that child called me and said, she don't want me to come back to you. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm not that therapist. If that's what you're looking for, then don't come to me. I put that out there because their trust means more to me than what you think about me. Period. Mm-hmm. So with teens, what's happening, one is we're not equipped as a community, as a family, to support people with suicide issues. Suicide ideations and suicidality is a condition. It's like depression or anything else you deal with. Mental illness-wise, it is a condition. It's a problem. If that person can just stop having those thoughts, they would. It's a lack of knowledge and understanding. We're not equipped as families or communities. So nobody wants to talk about it because that's the elephant in the room. They're scared. So because of that, we think if we talk about it, or it's going to make them think about it. One thing I guarantee you, 99.999% of the time, if you've never thought about suicide, me bringing it up to you ain't going to ever make you think about it. You either want that or you don't want that. And that's teens, adults, across the board. You can't bring up suicide for somebody who don't have no, like, that ain't not like one, the three of us on here. If you never thought about suicide, a person asking about it ain't gonna make you won't kill yourself. It's just,
Right.
Right.
it's not, people like, the old black folks be, hey, you plant that
Don't talk
seed,
about
words is
it.
power.
Mhm.
It's not that. It's either yes, words is power, but you can't speak something on a person's life they cannot, that they don't want to receive. Again, if they don't have that issue, they're not gonna receive that word. Period. To simply ask a person, are you thinking about killing yourself, ain't planting no seed.
Right.
If anything, you're trying to uproot something. So we have to get educated. That is another passionate area for me. Suicide education prevention is like that is an area that I will be drifting more into in the coming months and years, honestly, because we are, like you said, you've read the stats, our girls and our children, they are dying at far higher rates than any other population. Why? Because we don't have the knowledge. We're not equipped. We're not. And we take things for granted. I never forget when a kid attempted suicide on my caseload. The parents like, oh, that hurt, yeah, and come get them. And I get there, and the child took what they took to try to kill themselves. But they thought that wasn't real till the ambulance pulling up, pumping their stomach. So what I'm saying, and although, let me say this, full disclosure, some kids do it for attention. They say those things, they do those things because they feel unseen and unheard. That's one of the biggest deterrents for a person, any person, child or adult, that is suffering from suicide ideations, is to simply acknowledge them. That's one of the biggest deterrents. Because for a survivor of a suicide attempt, that's one of the things they will tell you is nobody even asked me.
Mm.
That one simple question can prevent a child from killing himself. Are you thinking about killing? And don't even, do you think you're going to harm yourself? You think you're going to do something to hurt you? No, no, no. Are you thinking about killing yourself?
So me and Kai talked about this yesterday, and that statistic with the minority groups leading, Black and Hispanic teenage girls leading the statistics. And I feel like, there's several reasons for this.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about this, but this is what I'm thinking. Firstly, there is a disconnect with what we think therapy is. People say, well, therapy, psychiatry, psychologists, counselors, they're all the same. I don't need that. That's for crazy people. And it's like, they're similar because they're trying to understand behaviors, your mindsets, how trauma impacts you, your brain, the neurobiology, the neurobiological differences. And
Mm-hmm.
just, I feel like we just need to understand, firstly, educating ourselves on these differences. Although they are similar roles or titles, they do different things. So
Mm-hmm.
firstly, educating ourselves, understanding what these roles serve to our community and how we can utilize them to help assist us in healing, firstly. Secondly, I think we don't want to be told anything by a stranger, right? We talked about trusting and not, you walking into a room, you don't really know this person, you don't know their intentions, you don't know what their objective is, you don't know if you can trust them. A lot of our people from a community, older generation, I'm not about to pay somebody to tell me about my life. Why should I pay them
Mm-hmm.
money? And it's like, what is it that we are afraid of? What are we trying to hide? Is it fear that, when you sit down in that chair and this person is asking you deeper intuitive questions about yourself, about your behaviors, about your pain, is it that you feel like they will force you to dig those things up again?
Mm.
Is it that you feel that you can't be vulnerable and transparent about your struggles because you don't want this stranger to look at you differently, judge you? And then also, I think, so for me, when I started therapy back in 2019, I had to remember that this person, although she was a stranger to me and she didn't know my life, that was actually perfect because she has
Mhm.
no personal opinion about me. She has
Mhm.
no perspective or personal feelings towards me and my
Mhm. Yeah.
situation. She has no emotional connection to me.
Correct.
She's going to be honest with me. You know, we can talk to our friends and our family about what we're struggling with, but at the end of the day, they're connected to us. They know us. They
Mhm.
watched us grow up. They watched us go through this situation, that situation. So, yes, they can try to be objective, but at the end of the day, there's going to be a little bit of personal feelings in that feedback, right?
For
So,
sure.
remembering these people, therapists, counselors that you're going to, they have no personal attachment or connection to you. So
No.
they can remain objective and
Yes.
really tell you what it is.
Yes.
Secondly, I also think, you know, they're able to provide you with insights and actionable things that you can do, actionable practices to address what you share with them. It helps you dive deeper and heal from the inside out. You know, we talked about this last time, having to dig deeper, all of those things and pains and, you know, things that you don't want to address and look at. You're digging deep, and this therapist, this counselor is assisting you in that journey. How do you feel about this? You know, are you ready for this? Okay, let's, like you said, if it's still traumatizing or it's too much for them or they're overwhelmed, you back off. You make that note. Okay, this is something that she's struggling with or he's struggling with. We're going
Mhm.
to revisit this in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. But also, I feel like you can take comfort in knowing when you do go to a therapist, you know that whatever you discuss, it won't leave
Mm.
a room,
That part.
right? You won't hear about, well, you know, she going through this. Girl, you heard that in the street, girl. She going through this XYZ. Therapists can't do that. Your business ain't
Mhm.
gonna end up in the street. Your family ain't gonna be talking about you with each other, smiling in your face, but then talking about you with your cousin and your auntie.
Yeah.
It's gonna stay with that person. So I think we also need to think about that. Like, these people are objective. They're not judging you in any way, shape, or form. And then I also think, you know, the socioeconomic statuses of these groups, right? We're leading black young women, um, youth, Hispanics. Those are minority populations, right?
Mhm.
And so our socioeconomic status, our access to these mental health facilities and services, our resources, you know, being able to afford these resources, that's a few of the main reasons why we feel like we don't need to do it, because we can't afford it. If you have to make a choice between putting the food on the table and going to therapy, you know you're going through something. You know your
Mhm.
child going through something. But when you're looking at these bills and you're looking at what you're bringing in every week or every 2 weeks or every month, if you got to look at, am I going to feed my child or am I going to take them to therapy? Naturally, you're going to choose to feed them. And so that's another struggle that we have to think about and really dive deeper into, you know, having the access, having the funds, having, you know, the connections to be able to get the help or utilize the resources that are available to us. And then finally, I have a lot of thoughts, and of course you guys can jump in at any time, but I've been thinking about this for a very long time. So another thing, as Black people, we're told we don't need therapy. Just pray about it. Go to church. Drink some ginger ale and go lay down. You'll be all right. Take a nap. And it's like, that's cool. But when we, like you said in the beginning, when we think about our history, when we think about the generational traumas and cycles that have been perpetuating from generation to generation, when we think about the lack of health equity, you know, not
Mhm.
having access to these things, not being able to afford it, and feeling crazy or being told you're crazy or you're going to therapy, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
It's an automatic stigma. And it's like you're kind of hesitant to share, or I go to therapy twice a month, or I go, you know, I'm going to see my therapist. You have to hide a lie about what you're doing. And it's like, we have to break out of that also.
Mhm.
Like, we always say, can't nobody judge nobody
Yeah.
about what they've experienced, their trauma, their pain, none of that. And that's coinciding with what we see in the therapy space. Realizing
Mhm.
that nobody can judge you. So, did y'all have something? Kaya, Ty, did y'all have something? Because I could go into the next question because it's kind of related to what I've been saying, but I definitely want to give y'all an opportunity because I've been rambling.
No, that was good points. Yeah, I think just the pray about it and all of that. And look, we like I said, we used that to get through when that's all we had. We have more than that now. We also have more access than we've ever had ever as a population of people ever. We have access more than we've ever had via Medicaid and EAP, employee assistance programs, and we have more access. But it is still, like you said, that stigma. That's the first thing somebody's going to ask you when you say you go to therapy. What's wrong with you? I never forget the numerous amounts of people that said, "So I'm crazy or I'm not crazy," or they asked that. They actually asked that. So I'm not crazy. No, who told you you were crazy? Just coming to see me doesn't make you crazy. And so just having to dispel that word because for one, it's being used wrong in most cases. And then secondly, just be so you're not, when you have a cold or flu, you go to the doctor. I don't understand why we think something's wrong with when you're struggling emotionally, mentally, why we think something's wrong with going to see a therapist. That's the doctor for the mental. I'm confused. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, just normalizing a lot of this stuff. Just normalizing it. I think that's the biggest point. I think that's what's going to make a difference. I think seeing more of us doing this, meaning more black therapists, more black men doing therapy. We don't have enough black men doing therapy. Like, right? Brothers won't see brothers. Like, brothers don't want to come talk to no woman. You know, like,
Yeah.
as much as I love my brothers, look, oftentimes they feel like the root of the issue is a woman. So they need to go to a brother who is objective, like you said, who don't have no emotional stock in their situation or their life to help them see, no, dude, is not just the woman, is you too. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot. It's a lot.
It is. And listening to both of you speak about, this whole being labeled as crazy, it made me reflect back on when I was a youth and I was living in a homeless shelter.
Mm.
And when I had to do my intake, they made everybody have an evaluation with a mental health therapist. And so I remember going to the into the office, and it was a lady. She wasn't white. I don't remember what her ethnicity was, but she wasn't white. She wasn't black. But so she's sitting down. We sitting down, and she have a little notepad and stuff, and she's asking me all of these questions. Have you ever had thoughts about suicide? I'm like, no. And the whole time I'm thinking, yeah, but I'm not about to tell you. So you could say that I'm crazy and give me medicine and lock me up. Like, yeah, I had thoughts of suicide plenty of times. Yes, I have. But I'm just, no. Okay, so she's asking me, like all of these other questions. And, I'm just like lying to her about
Mm-hmm.
everything because, for one, I don't trust you. You
Yeah,
don't look like me.
that
I
part.
don't know you. It's just everything. It was just like, and it was kind of forced upon me because of the situation. I had to have this evaluation done in order for me to stay there. So it wasn't like, I wanted it done. I was so nervous, like going in. I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna think I'm crazy. Oh my God, if I tell her the truth, they're gonna put me in a crazy house. Oh my God, I'm gonna have a straight jacket on. That was my thoughts
Mm.
at 19 years old. So I'm really glad that we are doing this. Let me just say that. I'm glad that we're doing this because it's even, changing my perspective on the whole getting help, mental help
Mm-hmm.
when you need it and just being able to open up and just feeling safe about it.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yes, it's a lot.
It's a
No,
lot.
it
And
is a lot. It is a lot. And that's again, like I love that y'all are doing this. Just simply saying that you have had thoughts of suicide doesn't automatically qualify you to go to the hospital. It doesn't. And because we don't know. So us asking that helps us to gauge, okay, we should now ask the next question. Are you suicidal right now? Yes or no? No, I'm not. Okay. If you are, then okay, are you thinking of, do you have a plan? Like there's multiple questions that lead us to say, okay, this person needs to be hospitalized because they need to be watched. Or it tells us, okay, we need to put some more supports behind this person. But simply asking you, have you ever had suicidal thoughts or have you ever attempted suicide, does not qualify you as crazy. It does not automatically get you sent to the hospital. And I'm glad we're saying this out loud because people don't know. They don't know what they don't know. Which is why I'm super passionate about the suicide component, because it's deeper. It's deeper than just, what we make it out to be. Oh, they should just, why would they want to kill themselves? Like their mama gave them everything. They have everything. And it's like, what does that have to do with anything? Anything. It does not, having things and all, none of that matters if you're suffering. There's a level of suffering a person is going through when they're thinking about killing themselves that is almost incomprehensible, honestly. If you've never experienced it, and we're talking about people who chronically suffers from suicide ideations. Like, not the person who's going through the worst parts of their life and be like, oh my God, I wish I wasn't here. I'm talking about people who like thinking about a plan every couple of weeks. That's a condition. And we don't have enough knowledge and not enough information about that.
And I think this sets up perfectly for the next question that I have for you, Ty. And it's not specifically focused on those that are having suicidal thoughts, but those that are just trying to overcome their mental health struggles in general. What are 3 to 4 key practices, behaviors, techniques that you provide to your clients to assist them in their mental health journey?
So the biggest, most important thing I don't want no client walking away from me and they don't have an improved or increased emotional intelligence. Their emotional IQ got the up. It's so many benefits to managing mental illness or having a good mental health when you have improved or increased or high emotional intelligence. When you don't have emotional intelligence, which a lot of us lack. A lot of us lack that. And that's one of the most foundational basics. Like I tell people, I don't have a magic wand. I'm not going, poof, you're healed. I don't have a pill that's going to make it all better and go away, even though we do ask the I wish, if everything of the perfect question, if everything could be perfect, what would that look like for you? We ask that to just help you see whether your expectations are realistic, but we don't have no way of making everything perfect. But if we can improve your emotional intelligence, if I can help you improve that alone is now tools in your toolbox. You're going to be better equipped to manage certain things in life. So that's the biggest, most important thing for me when I'm working with somebody, is to improve that. With that comes increased awareness. Self-awareness comes with that improved emotional intelligence. Your ability to read yourself. See, let me tell you, people, we be talking that talk. Black folks talk cash money stuff. Do you hear what I'm telling you? We the biggest, say what they want. We the biggest shit talkers on the earth, in my opinion. Oh, no, nobody know me better than me, and you don't know you. What? Who you talking to? Like, you don't know you. Meaning, you step in a room and your mind is going berserk, and you're not even aware enough of yourself to know that you're in a space that is triggering you. What you do? I'm just gonna go ahead and do me. No. That your mind and your body is alerting you. This is not a safe space for you emotionally. Hence, the family reunions, the holidays, the barbecues, this one birthday and that one birthday, and guess who's gonna be there? The uncle who used to molest you. He gonna be there. Why? Because one, you might very likely have never even told anybody what he did to you. Then number 2, if you told somebody and you didn't get help or they didn't back you or support you, you're now entering into, in my opinion, shark waters. You're putting yourself at risk, but you trying to, because ain't nobody gonna stop me from going where I don't want to be, and I'm past that. That's my past. That ain't your past. That's your life. You don't just get over stuff like that. There are people been in therapy all their life trying to get over sexual trauma. All their life, and they probably will be in therapy for the rest of their lives. Yes, therapy can last that long. It can. Some people will not function properly ever again, and they need those supports. That's a reality. It's not a lot of people, but there are some people they're going to need therapy forever because the way they set up, they can't function without having that backup support. Some of us, we go through therapy, we get the supports, we learn better, we get equipped, and we can manage and move through life. Others, they're going to always. So now you go into dysfunction, knowing uncle whoever won't be there, but because in your mind, everybody say that was 30 years ago, you should be over it. Even though your mind and your body is communicating, we're not good here. You just ignore yourself, but you know you. Nobody can tell you about you. Yeah, you need that therapist to tell you about you because you clearly ain't paying attention to you. You're neglecting and denying what your own body is telling you. For this, to what? To appease them? We self-sacrifice so much. So that's self-awareness, one of the most important things. Another tool, of course, is just some basic, because I could tell y'all the whole breathing, progressive muscle relaxation techniques, and healthy boundaries. Black families don't know nothing about no healthy boundaries.
I was about to say. You
don't know nothing about that.
You're evil, you're disrespectful, you
think you're sadistic, you think you're better than everybody. Who she thinks she is. Okay.
Go ahead, talk about it.
Okay, let you set some healthy boundaries. But for me, when I'm equipping people, healthy boundaries is absolute. Let me tell you, to me, healthy boundaries is just as important as you being able to eat your 3 square meals a day. Because if you don't have healthy boundaries, your life will be in an uproar. You will be forever living to appease others.
Yes.
That is the miserable existence.
Yes.
Miserable. And you're always putting yourself in harm's way when you don't have healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries, Black families and Black communities, they consider that communicates rejection to Black communities and families. They feel rejected when you set a boundary. They feel rejected. So they respond to that rejection as outbursts, shoo-shooing, backstabbing, alienating you, turning other family members against you. Why? Because other people haven't gotten strong enough to say, well, auntie so-and-so, you are rude. Who you think won't deal with that every day? Grandma, you don't respect nobody. Grandma, just because you grandma don't mean you get to talk to people like trash. Grandma, like that ain't cool. But she the elder. You know how Black folk, that's your grandma. You know how your grandma is. Yes, I do, and I don't want to be around her. That's what you got to have the heart to do. So those are improving emotional intelligence, becoming more self-aware, setting healthy boundaries, and last but not least, improving your ability to communicate your needs, period. You have to be able, setting a boundary, but don't communicate your needs or expectations. That's just an avoider.
Yeah.
A lot of us are master avoiders. We are. I mean, that's just the truth. A lot of us are master avoiders. We know how to avoid a sucker boy. Like they say, I cut on game strong. Yeah, it is strong. Because all you do is avoid the hell out of people. You ain't addressing nothing. You ain't setting no you ain't setting no boundaries. You just ghosting people, So communicating your needs or expectations is another thing. Those are foundational things that, to me, what I know as a therapist and what I've lived, I'm not telling people nothing I don't live. That's another thing. And let me put this tidbit out here. A therapist who does not go to therapists or has not gone to therapy, or a therapist who does not have their own therapist on standby, run. Because if you have a therapist who don't have a therapist, I don't mean they have to actively be seeing them all the time. They could check in once or twice a year. They can check in once a month. But a therapist who don't believe in seeing a therapist, they're not legit. And I mean genuineness. I mean authenticity. I believe what I share with people. I believe what I teach. I know what I teach. I live what I teach people. So I'm not going to tell you to do something I don't live. But those are the basic things I try to equip people with. And I know it ain't what we normally hear. Like, listen to music. When you're triggered, jot down and journal. And, yeah, that's good, fine and dandy.
And
But
wait,
see,
why I got that written down, Ty?
okay.
That was one of my little activities, but I'm glad that putting out the real, because this is what this is about. Put that
And,
real
and,
out there.
and again, no slight against any of them, because I tell people to use those things. But when I'm talking about real tools, because I don't want you to need me forever. I don't want to be in that situation where you got to come to me for the rest of your life. No, like what I told y'all. There is a small population, a segment of people that will need therapy for the rest of their lives. But if everybody on my caseload don't ever want to get off, I'm doing something wrong. You need to be equipped to handle things. And I'm not doing my job if you're not equipped.
That's a good way to think about
Are
it.
you preaching? I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So I have one more thing to get into, and then I have like a few questions at the end. So, when you apply for a job, you go on an interview
Mm-hmm.
and you have the panel or the person that's interviewing you. They're asking you all of these questions because they want to make sure that you are the right fit for this position.
Mm-hmm.
But people fail to realize that you're also supposed to be interviewing the employer, because you want to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that that job is right for you. And
Mm-hmm.
what most people do is, because that's why they say, hey, do you have any questions? And most people will be like, no, I don't have questions. Or, they'll just be like, oh, well, how much is the pay? And then that's just it. And
Mm-hmm.
then now you're miserable in a job. And, it's just like, so make sure that you are interviewing the job. So I said all that to say this. When you are seeking mental health,
Mm-hmm.
um, what are some resources that people can use for seeking mental health
Mm-hmm.
help? How would one know that a therapist is right for them?
Okay.
Do you have any suggestions on how to select a proper mental health specialist?
Okay.
And then the last one is, are there any questions that, one should ask when they are interviewing that professional?
Yeah. So starting off directories, there are numerous directories for therapists, counselors. There's numerous directories such as Therapy for Black Girls is a widely well-known one, and that was started by a Black female psychologist. And so there's and I could go honestly, that's the one that's popping in my head at the moment, but I'm just giving there's numerous directories. There's another one, a really huge one I don't want to name because the FUBU, for us by us, they're not for us by us, but they are huge. And if you just do a search, sometimes you can Google therapists near me. Honest to God, so many people have found me via Google. Therapists near me. Or if you're looking specifically for a Black therapist, then that's what you need to look for, some directories. And those directories would allow you to search by, the insurance you have, by the condition you're suffering from. So it just do a search. So that's one way to find. How to know that the therapist is a good fit? Well, one, it's a connection thing. I've had a couple of instances where one, the person might have not been in my lane, in my scope of practice, is what we say. So that if that person's not in my lane, I'm the person, I'm not going to step outside my lane, because what I know, and what I don't know, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So that's why we have specialties in the medical field, period, because that's important that a person they are properly equipped to support you with your specific needs. So that's one thing, ensuring that the person you're going to can address what you need. So if you're going to somebody and all they deal with is trauma, but you're just dealing with something like adjusting to moving to a new state, and the person you're seeking out, everything you see is trauma, 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 then that might not be, it's not to say they can't help, because they could, but that might not be who you want to deal with, because that's not the area of issues you're having. So just kind of take your time and just look through what their areas of, like, the conditions they address when you're reading those directories, because they have profiles. Just kind of go through that. Make it a point to, if they give a free 15-minute consult, take it. Take it. I've had so many clients to call for that free 15 minutes, and they're like, oh, I'm so glad I called. I need to schedule with you, right? Or there are times we're like, okay, thank you for that. If anything comes up and I want to schedule, then that could very well mean I wasn't a fit for them, right? But they took advantage of the 15-minute call. So that's another thing. Questions the person can ask is what I just told y'all. I know you are a therapist. Do you ever see a therapist? And some therapists will be caught off guard because they're not used to that. But see me, I'm like an open book, because I'm not gonna expect you. There's a level of disclosure we can give that's healthy and appropriate. Okay, that's within ethical bounds. So I would never be offended by you asking me if I see a therapist. Yes, I have a therapist. And if they get offended and become defensive, that's probably not the therapist for you. So it's okay to ask questions like that. I've had people, when I did substance abuse, I've had people ask that I ever do drugs. I'm not offended because you asked that. You might want to work with somebody who's what you've been through. I'm not offended by that. I am very big on that. That's another thing. Be mindful of a therapist who feel like they need to be in charge. They need to be running stuff. Because guess what? They ain't running nothing in your life. It's your life. You the expert of your life. You the expert. I'm just along for the ride. You just brought me to be a cheerleader. I'm not here to be the expert of your life. So that's another way to know. If that person comes across is always telling you what to do, that's not a good fit. So it was another question you had.
Let's see. Nope, you got all of them. That was all of them. You answered all of them.
So please ask questions. If they offer the free 15 minutes, take it. Please ask them, do they have a therapist? Please. Or if they've ever been to a therapist, right? Because something ain't right for somebody doing therapy who has never been to a therapist. Because we're not exempt, guys. Contrary to what people think, we are not exempt at all.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm smiling. We smiling because this
Right.
is so good.
It was. It really was. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ty. I'm so appreciative.
You just don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, I love helping people understand what we do better. That's really a passion of mine. It's like I told you, the suicide. I'm so glad y'all brought up that one. That's something I can go on and on about because I'm super passionate about it. It is definitely a specialty of mine. I'm going to be, moving in that direction to put more emphasis in equipping, bringing the information to the communities because they need to know we're just not equipped to support our teens and support our community suffering from suicide. We look at it like it's, like we say, a stigma, like it's some kind of stain or something. But it's a person who's suffering. And it's deeper than that, right? People they think it's the last thing a person been through that caused them to kill themselves, when actually it's been a compilation of things. It's been a buildup to the actual attempt. It wasn't the last thing is the last little straw that dropped. But it was a bunch of straws that dropped before that one. And so it's very complicated. It's not that simple. And so, I appreciate you guys. Let me say that. Thank y'all for having me on. I really appreciate opportunities like this. I've been with Dr. Chris on another opportunity that I was able to meet with her and her friends and stemming forward. So it was just definitely an opportunity. I love just connecting in these types of ways when I can. So thank y'all for having me for sure.
Thank you
Thank you.
for coming. And we would definitely love for you to come back because look,
Yes.
because okay, I'm kind of going off topic for, but okay, so listen. You know how, right now a lot of people we hear this word narcissist.
Mm.
And
Oh Lord.
so I want us to like dig into
Oh,
narcissism and sociopath. Like I want to like listen.
Yeah.
We have to educate our people, and
Mm-hmm.
I love the fact that you are real, that you are authentic, you are relatable. Like your energy is amazing, and I would
thank
definitely love
you.
for you to come back.
Yes, I would love to. The narcissistic piece, that's another, I try to educate people
Mm-hmm.
around that too. But I would love the opportunity because I'm big on education. So yeah, we got to pick the dates and I'll make myself available.
Let me put that in the document. Next. Y'all know me. I will write something down so quick.
And I know it's not the easiest to always tie down. Dr. Chris can tell you that, but I will show up. I do not when I put my word out there. Now I'm good for that.
Mhm.
So I know I'm not the easiest to tie down, but yes, I
I
definitely
got
will.
your number and your email. So take,
Yeah.
okay, you can't run.
I know. I know. I can.
Honestly, I've worked with, like she said, I've worked with Ty before, and yes, she's busy, and she has this nonprofit now, and I know there are so many different things that you have to do, tasks and things of that nature. So for you to take your time out on a Saturday to sit here and speak with us about mental health disorders, we're truly appreciative of you just taking an hour and a half. Although it's just that small amount of time, it's still your time to be with
Mm,
your family and your loved ones, and you're sitting here talking with us. So thank you so much once again for coming on our
mm,
Instagram live for our first education hour. um I'm gonna shift it to no, this is me. So, I forgot we changed the format. So I'm gonna provide a few words of encouragement to those that are watching that might be having a few mental health struggles or issues. We just want you to know that we hear you, we see you,
mm,
that you're not alone, that you're not weak for seeking help, for struggling. It takes strength to admit that you're struggling. It takes strength to seek out the resources and people that will assist you and help you navigate what you're dealing with. So we're so proud of you. You have to have a true desire to want to heal and to grow and to be better. Trust yourself. You have to know that you matter. You have to know that your presence is needed here on earth. You do have a purpose. So all of this, negativity and things that we're dealing with in life, because life be life in, just
mm,
know that you're not alone. We're all here with you. And if you have friends or supportive people in your corner, reach out to them. If you don't, reach out to
yeah.
us. Email us. Okay, we're here. Make a comment on our videos. We will definitely reach out to you and serve as that supportive network for you. Now, before we shift into our affirmation, that's how we end our lives. Ty, we want you to go ahead and drop your handles and ways to contact you and your organization, if just in case people want to reach out to you for your services or learn more about making an impact 365.
Yeah. So I am on Instagram, I believe, Twitter, and Facebook, and it's at MEI 365 Inc. So if you guys are interested in just learning more about the organization, volunteering, or just like she said, just needing to be connected to resources and services, feel free to DM us, email us. The website is up, and it is making an impact mentalhealth365.org. So you're welcome to go onto the website as well. Hit us up. Let us know if it's a way we can be of a support to you. I do also have my business, which is Impact Counseling and Support Services as well. So I do this. This is real life for me, guys. If you do need any supports or services, whether I can help you or get you connected, I will ensure that happens.
All right.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much for
Thank you.
that, Ty. And then we're going to have Kai jump in and do our affirmation and wrap us up and introduce us talk about the next episode that's coming up.
Yes. So we unpacked a lot today. We learned
Mm-hmm.
a lot. I know I learned a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, basically, we talked about mental health and learned the difference between mental illness and mental health. That was something big for me because that was something that I didn't know about. So thank you for that. So we also talked about stigmas in our community, how depression can be linked to traumatic experiences, and how to overcome certain mental health struggles. So on the next episode, we will have another special guest. To discuss how growing up tough can inhibit men from being vulnerable, emotionally intelligent, and loving because they've been conditioned not to be feminine. Because a man ain't supposed to cry. Okay? So, with that being said, join us Saturday, June 3rd, same time, 7 p.m., same place, IG Live. And I'm going to go ahead and close out with our affirmation. And I got this affirmation from betterup.com. And it says, I will do my best, and my best is good enough. I will allow myself to make mistakes as they help me grow. So show up as yourself. Your 100% might not be the same as somebody else 100%. You probably don't even have 100% to give. You may only have 50. You may only have 25. But just as long as you gave it your all, that's all that matters. Don't be hard on yourself. Pace yourself and do what you can do and focus on yourself and do not compare your journey to someone else's. Because comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
Allow yourself to make those mistakes because people call them L's, a loss, but I call it an L as a lesson. So learn from those mistakes, learn from those things that you didn't succeed at because there's room for growth. So we love y'all. Thank y'all so much for the support, and we will see y'all again on Saturday. What I say?
June
3rd. All right, y'all. Bye. Thank you so much, Ty, for coming in. Thank you, thank you.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.